For those of you who haven't kept up with my gym series, I took the 18 types and split them into 3 groups. I used a random wheel to determine which 6 types I would talk about first, and then in another group decide the other 6 types. Today's gym is the Dragon type. So for the Dragon type gym, I decided to do something a little bit wild. Now hear me out, have decided to take over a gym leader spot. Crazy, I know, I've never done it before, but for this one, it makes a little more sense. In the Diamond & Pearl games, Volkner talks about trying to challenge the Elite Four and leaving his gym. In this situation, he actually does leave his gym. So that leaves me to take over the gym instead. But since I'm on a really close time crunch, I decided for every gym trainer to keep their base Pokemon. So you're not going to face anything too wild in this gym. Instead, you'll be hearing talk about there being a new mysterious gym leader taking the spot, but nobody has ever seen him. So you battle through the gym trainers just like usual, and then you reach me in the back of the gym. Sorry about that. It might not be obvious, but this is actually a Dragon type gym now. I was just on a very close deadline. It's a lot harder to find Dragon types in this region. I could give these trainers a Gible, or a Gabite, or a Dialga. Maybe not the last one. Anyway, let's battle. And with that, your battle against me begins. With my first Pokemon being a Flygon. Not the most well-known Dragon ground type, but still a relatively good Pokemon overall. I'm sure it's a lot more obvious going through all of these gyms in this series, but just because I use a Pokemon in a gym doesn't necessarily mean it's found in that region. I've traveled all these regions after all, so I could use a Tinkaton in Sinnoh, a Flygon in Sinnoh, even if they're not natively found there. But a Flygon isn't really too challenging. After all, considering this is the last gym, I'm sure that you have a good ice or even a water type on your team. So with that, Flygon goes down. That's when I'll send out my next Pokemon, the Abomination Dracovish. He is a Pokemon that haunts many people's dreams, but unfortunately for you, he doesn't have Fish's Rend. I didn't want to make this gym too challenging or too difficult, so I just have him have really weak base power moves and moves that won't help with his strong jaw at all. But still, considering he's a water dragon type, it's still going to be a bit of a challenge. But after you take out my Dracovish, I send out my third Pokemon, a Drampa. Definitely a lot stronger than Dracovish, all things considered, with this gym. After all, Dracovish has been nerfed with his moveset, but Drampa still keeps Berserk. So even if you bring him down to low hit points, his Berserk ability will power up any of his moves. A Dragon Breath could still be catastrophic for your team. But employing different strategies like Sleep, Toxic, or even just attempting to power up your own moves and one-shotting Drampa, you're able to take him out regardless. That's when I'll send out my last Pokemon, Ampharos. Definitely really thematic for an electric type gym, but I terrestrialized my Ampharos into a dragon type. Ampharos does get dragon type moves anyway, like Dragon Pulse, so a situation like this, if you're not prepared for it, could be trouble for your team. But since you've already faced my other dragon types in the back, I'm sure facing an Ampharos won't be too much trouble for you. Eventually, even if you have to use your whole team in order to do it, you take out my Ampharos and beat my gym. In hindsight, it might have been a good idea to pack a pseudo legendary of my own. But that's fine. You beat me fair and square, at least for this time. Come back when my gym's fully functional. I'll give my gym trainers all sorts of dragon types. And that's another gym down. Obviously, I'm sure you're noticing with the more gyms that go on, they're all boiling down to one gimmick that I want to use. Obviously, Ampharos's Mega Evolution is a dragon type, so that's why I wanted to go for here. I just think that was a really clever idea, considering that I took over an electric type gym anyway. But if I didn't feel as much pressure as I did to try and finish these up, then I might have been able to come up with something more creative, or even something that doesn't involve terrestrialization. But I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Only a couple more gyms left until this is done, and I'll see you in the next one. Momentai!